Right, hello Chocy Chat crew. Only seems like it's a minute since I was last sat here. Episode 124. It's the 26th of January, and yeah, we're nearly through January, aren't we? So I don't know whether it's going to be another fast year, isn't it? Ron's bonbons there. Ron's busy making croissant and lamination, I think I should say. Billy there, Scottish chocolates. Billy, wonderful chocolates today, really amazing those. Alison, how are you? They're in Canada, there's lots. Stuart there, blind chocolatier, got lots of people here. How are you? Paula. Dallas is chocolate lab in Canada. How are you doing, Dallas? Who else is there? Mr. So Sassy joined us. Dolce Mara, hello. Mother Baker, how are you doing, Mo? Mo, those flowers, you're going to set the intellect. You must have incredible patience, Mo, to sit and do those flowers. Just are incredible, really incredible. If people haven't seen those, they're on the Facebook page. Absolutely amazing. Always blown away when I see those. Stephanie there, Forester Chocolates, Chocodilic, how are you? Sean, I got your message. I will reply back. It's to do with packaging. So, Blind Chocolate had some customers today, which is nice. Happy days, always good. Andrew there, Styling Chocolates, how are you? Twisted Tulip, hello, pretty fancy there, New Zealand. Gosh, Linda's joined us in America. Nadia's there. That was an interesting chat, wasn't it, on Wednesday, if anybody caught that up. Really inspiring story. I had some absolutely amazing comments about that, and I'm sure Albert has as well. Yeah, really, very different chat. And it was, I think for me, it's, you know, it's it's kind of people that have made that jump from kind of small, I want to say small production to kind of ramping up. And it can, as Albert said, it can happen quite quickly, and it can happen right in front of your eyes, and you kind of just need to be ready to go. So but yeah, it was a really interesting chat, that one. So my sister there, my sister-in-law Manal, who else? How you doing, Nadia? Really fascinating chat. That's on YouTube now as well, so you can kind of, we're putting all these onto YouTube just so that you can there's easier controls than Instagram, like trying to scroll in and out. It's quite a challenge on Instagram. You move it a millimetre and you've lost a quarter of an hour, haven't you? That's the so yeah, Dallas. Yeah, he's an interesting character, interesting backstory. I gave him a call. I was trying to explain on the night because we had some teething problems with the connection at the beginning. I gave him a call just to set this up. We were on the phone like 2 hours just having a chat about chocolate and business and how he started. So I maybe know more than he said on that night, but yeah, what a fascinating story of tenacity and just getting stuff done, right? He's just getting stuff done and working 7 days a week, because he works elsewhere 3 days a week, and then 4 days a week he's absolutely full on in his business. And I think to some extent that's how you make that jump. Dallas is somebody that I'd like to have on to have a chat. I mean, maybe I need to message Dallas and see if we can set that up, actually, because I think Dallas he's in Canada. He's at Chocolate Labs. Dallas, I'm right in thinking you started from home as well, right? And now you're buying mega tons of everything. So it takes time, but it does happen. It happens a lot. So I was messaging. If anybody knows Timothy McGuire's down in Georgia, same thing. He said, you know, a few years ago they were working from home. Now they're in a 10,000 square foot factory. Maybe that's not the aim for everybody, but it's possible to grow, because the kind of public appetite for chocolate's huge, and when you get it right, you can grow, and you can grow quite quickly, really quickly. Yeah, Dallas said, sure, yeah, we can set up. Yeah, I think we should get Dallas on and have a chat, actually. Just it's nice to talk to the people that kind of started at home. And I think Dallas did. He started at home, and it's expanded, and looking at the volume, he's kind of holding on to the reins a little bit, but when he's not playing golf. But yeah, really fascinating chat, and some really, I tell you what, there's some really good little snippets about business in there. you kind of need to watch the whole thing to get it, because we were all over the shop, and like I said at the beginning, kind of logging in areas, it was a bit of a challenge. But last week's chat we talked about costs, and then I posted the stuff onto the Facebook page of how I break those bits and pieces down, and that prompted more messages than I can cope with. Right, so what I was going to say, some of the questions it prompted, one was about one question was about like how do you pay yourself when you're a small producer? How do you pay yourself? And this kind of splits down into two things now. When you're doing a few boxes and selling them during kind of seasonal things, so like, Valentine's, Easter, Christmas, that kind of thing, what very often happens, I think, for small producers, and having talked to lots of businesses and startups, what happens is they don't necessarily pay themselves. So they have a full-time job, and the chocolate is kind of like the side hustle. The money they make from chocolate, they reinvest into their business. So it's more tubs, it's easy temper, it's more chocolate, it's more packaging, more bits, until they expand. And then what happens is, as those volumes grow, they kind of go 4 days a week main job, 3 days a week side hustle, until they make that completely tilt across. Okay, and that seems to be a common thing. Some of the greatest businesses on this planet started at home. They started in garages, they started in kitchens. It's possible, it can be done. As I said, the appetite for chocolate with the public, it's colossal. It's huge, it's bigger than you could ever imagine. And I think there's space for everybody. In terms of going back to like, how do you pay yourself? One of the things that certainly my wife and I were talking about this, because we talk to a lot of businesses globally in terms of what they're doing. When at the beginning, somebody said to me, like, how many hours do you do? I'm a business owner. I don't calculate my hours. If I have to work really, really, really long hours, it's because there's lots of business. Okay, so the mentality of counting your hours and giving yourself a daily wage, an hourly wage, that's kind of an employee mentality. I think what you need to do is get yourself into an owner mentality. Owners very often don't pay themselves much, but what they will do is continue to invest into their business. And when you do pay yourself, it'll be from profits that you've made when you had really, really good times. So as a business owner, it's kind of not regular. You do take chunks as and where you can. Whereas as an employee, you're guaranteed this much each month. And this is the challenge for small businesses that are starting up. Very often in the beginning, it's real meager and things are tight. You've got to trust in yourself, you've got to work hard, you've got to do the hours, you've got to just ignore that employee kind of mindset and get into that building a brand, building a business, and doing everything that you need to do. I think you heard Albert say this the other night, that 3 days a week he does what he needs to do in another business. That he does what he needs to do in another business, and then he's running home to get on with the stuff, because it's his business, and every moment you spend working on your business, it's only going to pay you. So it's very difficult I don't calculate the hours. I wouldn't look at how many hours I do. I wouldn't look at myself with an hourly rate. I wouldn't add an hourly rate onto any chocolates I make. I'm trying to sell not one box, I'm trying to sell as many as I can to generate the profit. And then I decide, do I pay myself something, or do I invest in more equipment so I can scale up and go bigger? So that prompted that. The other one was costing packaging, because somebody said to me, like, your packaging is really, really cheap. Yeah, we don't buy high-end packaging, not yet. Okay, we went down the route. We had a look at what we could get from China and the minimum orders, the minimum order quantity. So if you ever see MOQ, it's minimum order quantity, and it's in the many, many thousands, and that's when you get a good rate. But the challenge you've got is you've got to store all that stuff. So those negotiations, that's a totally different aspect. Choose the packaging that you like, but I think, I say this to so many business, and I say this to so many chocolatiers, don't focus so much on the packaging, because the cost can just go off the charts within moments, right? I think packaging is something that you invest into slowly and eventually, and when you're making good money, it's one of those situations where rather than paying yourself, you put 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 pounds or dollars into packaging to secure packaging for the next year or 18 months. then you can get a real snapshot of, you know, bulking up, getting the volume, scaling up, and then maybe paying yourself more, right? But it all comes with challenges, all comes with challenges. Did I miss a question there? But yeah, really, really good, chat last week. And I think lots of people understood the point I was getting at with costings. Well, the easiest things to do, I got chocolate today. I got Fleur de Cow, lovely delivery from. I had a lovely delivery from Strawberry Red today. So we bought some Valrhona, we got some Fleur de Cow, got 823. I got various different chocolates. What I will do is I will work out what 100 grams of each of those costs, and I will, so for each range that I've got, so the Fleur de Cow, I'll work out what 100 grams is, based on the invoice, and I'll just write that down on my kind of little Excel sheet, so that when I come to do the costings, I've already got the chocolate cost. If I know what my shell weights are, because we talked about that last week, if I know what my shell weights are and I know what my cap weights are, and they won't change, regards to the chocolate, those weights will be about the same. So 1.8, 1.9, 2 grams per shell, okay, and then the cap is normally a third of what that shell is. Then it's a case of breaking down what your fillings are, and if you've got a recipe, that should be quite straightforward to cost. If you're not following a recipe and you're adding a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little scrape of this and a scrape of that, that's going to be a challenge. And consistency will be that you follow a recipe, but having all your different chocolates marked down. The other thing we do is to do with the allergen sheets. What we'll do is write down where we do that cost for 100 grams. Next to it, I'll also put down what's in there, so milk solids, milk fats, all those bits and pieces, so that when I come to do the allergen sheet for it, all I've got to do is copy and paste it across, and it saves me a lot of work. We do the same thing with the recipes. Underneath the recipes, we'll write down what the allergens are, so when we come to do that sheet, all we've got to do is literally cut and paste and bring it across, and that speeds things up. I know lots of people in the beginning have a real challenge with the allergen sheets. Changes country to country, changes region to region, but it's still good advice to list all the ingredients and any known allergens that are in there, right? So I would have thought most countries follow HACCP system, and the declared allergens, those 14 allergens, from what I see, it's pretty international now. It's pretty international. You need to list nuts, you need to list gluten, you need to list milk or lactose. So what else have we got? Should I say some hellos? Oh, Emily's saying, so Chocy, I wanted to share that today they approved my grant for my chocolate lab. Soon I can buy cocoa butter colours. Happy days. Keylink has started gold foiling your logo on the standard boxes. Yes. Amazing grazing, hello. Chocodilic saying, I assume it's the same for Easter eggs with costings and prices. Costing is costing. It's just working out your base ingredients. If you know your shell weights, if you're going to shell eggs, you put the mould on scales, and you find out how much the mould costs. So you zero your scales, put your mould on, how much does that weigh? Then go about your business. You'd shell them, okay, tap everything out, and then before you fill them, just weigh them again, and I'll tell you how much the chocolate weight is. If you take that weight minus the empty mould weight, that will give you a shell weight. It's good practice, it's good skills, it's good business, how much you're using. There'll be variations without a doubt, you know, the cooler the chocolate, the thicker the layer, the warmer the chocolate, thinner the layer. A 4-drop will be very different to a 3-drop. So some consistency, you know, I use a lot of 4-drop chocolate, and for the ones that aren't 4-drop, if I'm honest, I will make that up because I like using a 4-drop chocolate for shelling. It works for me, it works the way that I work. So I can get shells really, really thin as well, right? So, but yeah, costings are costings. I think it's just good practice to know where you are with costs. You're never going to be able to do a fine-tooth comb because there's always variations and there's spillages, and you know, there's elements of wastage. This is why working clean and tidy is such a good thing. But you're always going to have wastage and spillage, and those things you kind of have to account for as well, right? At some point. So. There's a question here. Has anyone made confections from the chocolate and confections book? Did they turn out well? Which chocolate and confections? By Weibo or Dolce Mara? I don't know which one. I don't know which book. I'm getting lots of requests to be in the video. So, hi, I'm being gifted Valrhona chocolate for a charity function. Which flavours do you like? We'll also use for shelling. What would you say the drop? Dark chocolate, I like the Manjari, without a doubt. That's kind of one of my favourites. Are you going to come and say hello? Sarah wants to come and say hello. Quick, because I'm answering the question. What are you eating? Show everybody what you're eating.
Lychees.
Lychees. We love lychees.
2 boxes.
We buy boxes. When we find lychees, we buy boxes of them, don't we?
Yeah.
And you're going to sit and peel and eat all of them, aren't you?
We barely finished them in like 1 week.
Wow, that's just.
Even.
Let me answer these questions then.
Like.
There's a question. So yeah, that's the question. I'm being gifted Valrhona for a charity function. Which flavours? For the dark chocolate, I like the Manjari. It's a really good. It's a 3 to 4 drops. Really good. It's very, very easy to shell with. This has been around a long time. This is the Jivra Lacti, but it's part of their Grand Cru range. It's a milk chocolate. When you first eat it, you kind of think it's caramelised. It's not. It's just got vanilla in it. It's got malt in it as well. That's been around a long time. That's the 40% Lacti Valrhona. I really like that. It's really nice to shell with. Really nice fluidity. Really, really nice flavour. Price is amazing. They're the two. The Carib is nice. I prefer the Jivara. So Jivara, I kind of prefer that as a milk chocolate. It's 40%. It's a 40% milk, but it tastes like it could be stronger. It tastes like it could kind of be a 45, 46, 47. So I think, honestly, Kenneth, whatever you're being gifted, go for it. But yeah, ideally you want the ones that are kind of 3 drop if you're going to do kind of chocolate work. So Amazing Grazing saying, you're forgetting the wastage you're putting a spoonful in my coffee. Yeah, when you can I show you what I've done here? So if I only had one chocolate I could ever use again, it would be that, right? And I put the bag down on the side, and I put a big hole in the back side of the bag. So, that's the Fleur de Cow by Coco Barry, and that is without a doubt my most favourite chocolate. If I could only ever use one more chocolate to do everything, it would be that. I think it's lovely. But I do find that I accidentally eat quite a lot of it. Dallas is saying, so Dolce Mara, that's Peter Grueling book. It's excellent and it's fantastic. So yeah, probably very, very good box. Very, very good book to use. Manjari. I like the Manjari. I tell you what, the Valrhona I did like, and I used for years, was the Valrhona Equatorial. But the price of it's just gone off the chart. So, yeah. You said, Dallas is saying, I stopped using the Fleur de Cow in the last year after 8 years. I always seem to gravitate towards, I like Cocobarry. I like their single origin range. Having said that, I also got this, right? So 823, because that's only it's a 34%. Because I'll use that for shelling, and I'll use that because it's just a good shelling chocolate, right? It's a little bit thick for me, a little bit sticky for me. So we would probably just thin it down by 4%, around about 4%. Just give me a bit. The thicker a chocolate, the more air bubbles it traps. And when you're, it's fine if you've got a sell me because it doesn't really get many air bubbles in it. But if you're shelling and seeding or doing stuff by hand, you get the thicker it is, the 3-drop chocolate, it traps more air. I always seem to gravitate towards, we use Fleur de Cow. But I don't, I don't necessarily have an allegiance to a particular brand of chocolate. I choose the ones that I like, and I choose the ones that I like the flavour profile of, and it just so happens that some of them are really expensive. However, nothing wrong with 823. Dallas, why did you stop using that after 8 years? That's a really good run with it's probably price related, right? So, oh, okay, you replaced it. Happy days. We can't get the felt Clint. It's really hard to get here. There's only a couple of suppliers that do it, and one of them, you've got to spend a minimum of 2,500 a month to have an account. So it's literally, you can't get in there if you're a small producer. And then the other company that sells it, it's got like 50% markup on it, so it's literally even more difficult. So, was there another question there? I'd like to try some of that. I'd like to try a bit more of the Felching, but like I said, just can't get hold of it. So just can't get hold of it. Dolce Mara, it's good to know. His recipes look fantastic. We'll start product testing soon. Hoping to incorporate quite a few of his confections into the business. He's a fantastic teacher and an amazing reputation. Who else got any? Oh gosh, really? Really, with the labelling issue, yeah. Somebody posted something earlier today and said it was about the fat content in a chocolate, and then on the spec sheet it literally lists nothing, which is a real challenge. We're going through ISO accreditation at the moment, so like with the butters and the labelling and the product recall and all those other bits and pieces that go through it. We've had to do some market research on what other brands do. You just can't find anything out about other brands. And I'm really, really, really surprised at the lack of labelling on some chocolates and on some other brands of products, right? It's really, you think it's 2024, you'd think it will be quite well measured by now. So, as a federally, Daz is saying, as a federally regulated facility, we have much more stringent requirements. As it gets bigger, as business gets bigger, and as you scale up, the rules and regulations that you need to follow get more and more strict. And I spent the day today wrestling with computers and wrestling with new printers because I need to be able to print more, faster. To keep up with what we're doing, and the little printers that we had, it just wasn't cutting it at all. We just stood around waiting for stuff to print, and it does so much filing, so much. You start looking at traceability, and then start looking at product recall systems, and all the stuff that goes along with that. Scaling up. I did this post today saying, you can plan as much as you want, and you can rehearse as much as you want, but you need to start. Because the problems ain't going to go away; they're going to keep coming. And I think in business, you just got to smash the problems out of the ballpark when they come up. If you're the type that leaves it till tomorrow, you're going to kind of suffer. I think business, half the job is making chocolate, the other half is dealing with all the issues and problems that come up from. So I spent a good third of the day just wrestling with two printers, so that I can print from a phone, from a tablet, from a MacBook, and from a desktop, and everything ties up. Doesn't matter where I am, I can print, okay? I can be driving home, and I can get some stuff printed, so when I get in the door, it's kind of in the workshop, it's kind of ready to go, right? So, that's why I posted today. It's like, there's never a good time to start, you just got to start. You can plan and rehearse as much as you want. At the point that you start, there's going to be problems you never even imagined, and you got to deal with them. You got to deal with them. I moved out. We got an Epsom. It's called an Epsom 5800. The reason we moved over to that is they are the ink bottles, and I think for me to do the whole, like all 4 print bottles, gives me something like 4,000 pages. and I think it's only like £26 for all 4, whereas we had the ink cartridges before and they were like £105 for all 4. So I've literally, yes, the printer's a little bit more expensive, but the inks and the replacement for it and the speed that it prints is so much better, and it's Wi-Fi, and it's a scanner, and it does all the little bits and pieces. But it was just a necessary upgrade. If I bought it 6 months ago, I probably have saved my money with the ink, right? So, but it's an Epson 5 8000, so yeah, Dallas is saying there, the bigger your company grows, the more problems you face daily. You feel like I just put out fires all day. Yeah, I spent a long time in industry, a long time as a chef, running massive kitchens. People would stop me and say, do you know what the soup is today? And it's like, I have no idea. I'm dealing with legislation. I'm dealing with weddings for the next 2 years. I'm dealing with a multi-million-pound budget. I don't know. And as I got into a bigger seat as an exec chef, I got further and further away from the kitchen, which I didn't really like. And then made the decision actually to go back to the bottom and start doing my own thing. I think for anybody in business, you'll recognise, you know, we have it dailies, issues with shipping, issues with deliveries, issues with, it's just non-stop, but it happens, and I don't like dealing with problems. They are just challenges that happen through the day, and you need to swat them like flies and deal with it, right? You do. You just swat them like flies. It's not a problem, it's just another challenge. It's something that's going to crop up. I think the challenge in business is when you know it's coming. When you know it's coming, they're not nice, right? So audits. Yeah, the refillable. Yeah, they're good. It's a good printer. I've got to say, we were kind of playing on it earlier, and I can, you know, to be able to print from my phone, to be able to print that fast from what we were using. Rania said, so Mrs. So Sassy, she deals with more problems than I deal with, because it's accounts and sales and marketing and retailers and international shipping, different languages, scheduling lessons. I tend to, I'm hands-on production. Mrs. So Sassy, she deals, she wakes up, she opens up the computer and it's like, what's today's list? And sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's a lot. That's business, right? Deal with it. But you can plan all you want. These things are never going to go away because they're things that you just can't plan for, right? So, you know, do your recipes, do your shells, do your designs, but 50% of your business, 50% of your work is dealing with stuff that's not even related to production, right? And I think that's the point. You know, the tenacity. But there's never a good time to start, but you do need to start. Okay. Rani is my superwoman. She deals with so much. She solves so many issues. We're a very good team. We are a very, very good team. And I'm very lucky to have her on my side because whilst what I do is kind of quite labour intensive and it's quite tiring, I do find sitting down at a computer for hours and hours, I absolutely exhaust. I had to sit down, I had to do a class for 2 days. So this is some different learning that I need to cover, to do with food safety, international food safety and compliance. And I had 2 days of sitting down. I was absolutely exhausted at the end of it. So I did say to her, I don't know how you cope with all this, but horses for courses, right? She's quite happy to pick up the phone and just deal with stuff literally as it comes in, and like I said, swat it out like a fly. And it constantly, where's my parcel, where's this, where's that, why hasn't they phoned me, why haven't they? We had one recently, it's like nobody's phoned me as long as you didn't supply a phone number, so kind of they're not going to, are they? Alright, Mrs. So Sassy, don't say thank you to me. She's my bestie. She is my bestie. Alright, so I need to organise with Dallas then, don't I? We have a little bit of a midweek chat, right? Because I'll be looking forward to that. And then, who else? Everybody's been quiet tonight. Why has everybody been quiet tonight? Surely had enough of me chatting the other night with Albert. Everybody, what happens if I go silent? I'm going to have a cup of tea then. Oh, a cup of tea. Dallas, I'll give you a buzz during the week and we'll get that sorted out. awesome times. Temper keeps sending me view requests. Scott, yes, mate, have a good one. Dallas is going to go and hit some golf balls now. I think they call that stress relief, don't they? Rani has got a question. Go on, Em. When do you decide if you should consider wholesale? There's no right time. When they come in, you need to look at it. Wholesale, you'll normally be kind of taking 30% off, right? Normally, I can't believe. No, that's not. Did Mama really write that down? Did Rania really write that question down? Wow. She should know. That's her daughters. Rania wanted to know how do you temper the coat, but ask Sophia. She does all that. She'll tell you. When do you decide if you should consider wholesale? Right, wholesale, you'll be doing in bulk, giving away. You normally take 30% off. What you've got to decide, and when these things come in, and Albert was talking about this the other night, he doesn't say yes to everything, but he does consider everything, okay? So you need to consider it, and you need to do the kind of damage control. Is it worth me doing this volume to lose this much profit, and there's a return purchase? If it's a wholesale order and it's just a one-off, I might agree to it, but it would be at very different terms, all right? If it was a longer term purchase and I could contract it to say, like, for example, if it was 100 boxes every month, I might put a better price on that, okay? Or if it was 2,000 bonbons every month, I'd be happy to take 30% off that price if they could guarantee me that. So you have to consider everything that comes through, okay? And you need to react to it very, very quickly, but you need an idea of what it is that you would charge. If you overcharge and you lose the order, you kind of got to just move on and say that was my mistake, okay? But I think it's the art of negotiating. You know, wholesale orders could be, if they want to put it into packaging, that's an additional price. If they wanted it as bulk, that would be a different price. And what you've got to consider is it worth me stopping to do this bulk order? And what are the terms and conditions that could get it to them from me with less effort? If that makes sense. If you're charging $20 for a box of 12 at wholesale, I would think that's around about 10 or 11 or 12. They want to make some money and you want to make some money. If you leave it where you make all the money and they don't make much at all, you're not going to get a repeat order, and it's all in the art of negotiation. Albert said this the other night. He considers everything, but he doesn't say yes to everything, and you've just got to be very, very careful in terms of what you value. If you keep taking on all these bulk orders, but it puts a dent on you producing the nice stuff, then it's not worked in your favour. And again, going back to Albert, because we were only talking about this 2 days ago, he has lots of kind of corporate orders now. The icing on the cake for him is the smaller boxes that people come and collect, right? And he's never had that opportunity before for people to come and collect directly from him. So he's gone the other way. It's the other way round for him. So you need to consider every single opportunity that comes through the door, right? And then ask yourself, is it worth me doing so? Does that make sense? Jason's joined us. How you doing, mate? Bridget's there. Paul is saying, I find wholesale so difficult and yet would like to grow them. I have some that seem good supply once and can't get them to respond again. It's always price related, right? Thing is, for a retailer, like my box of, let me show you my box 12. The box cost me, I think this one was something like $4.85 to produce. Okay, $4.85. Even if I times it by 3, we're VAT registered, so I need to put VAT on it. I'll be looking at selling at about £21.95, right? £22. If I'm going to give that to a retailer, I need to split that difference or I need to split the profit on it. I need to make some money. I need to recover some of the costs of goods, and then also have a little bit of profit. And then he needs to recover his cost of goods because he bought them, and he needs a little bit of that profit. And the breaking, you know, if I'm selling at 20, the wholesale's kind of around about that 10, 11, 12 pound mark. If you go up a little bit too high, what happens is you never get a repeat sale because they don't make any money on it. And a retailer, so retailers, shops, you know, if they're different products, you know, but if they're selling fresh food, it costs them £1, they need to sell it for £3. If they're buying in chocolates, if it costs them £1, they need to sell it for £3. So they want to kind of make their markup as well. If your entry is too, you know, if your wholesale offer is too high and they can't make any money on it, they might buy once, but they might not repeat again because it's just kind of not worth the. They don't want to make 10, 5, 6, 7%, right? That's an interesting question. Does that make sense?
An email that I get every day.
Here's an email that Rania gets every single day. How do you temper cocoa butter? How do you temper chocolate every day? What other ones do we get? How long does it take to ship to? That's our favourite one.
Yeah.
How long does it take to ship to? And we have we wake up to dozens of those every single morning. How long does it take to get to such and such? Well, if I was posting this box to, no, if I was posting these to, let's say New York, right?
Everybody that ships.
My courier can get it to New York in 3 days, okay? Then customs have it. Customs could sit on it for a week. They could sit on it for 24 hours. We could ship to Holland, for example. My courier can get your cocoa butters. They can get them there 3 days.
Yeah.
Then it sits in customs for 3 days. Then it gets released from customs, it's another day. Then it gets given to the postal courier team and they have it for 2 days. Then they try and post it to you and you're not in, so they put a tag and then you can't get it for 3 days. And it's like, how long's a bit of string? We can't give a door-to-door answer simply because flights, there'll be priority flights. The bigger the box, the bigger the amount, the quicker it gets there.
Well,
So
we
boxes
don't
that are
know.
8, 9, 10 kilos seem to get there very, very quickly. Smaller packages, and I don't know how that courier system works. So I don't know whether they wait until they've got a full load of smaller parcels and then weather affects it, customs affects it. But we literally get that email every single morning. How long does it take to post to Holland? How long does it take to get to Portugal? Well, the honest answer is we can get it there quite quickly. What your government and what your postal system does with it, I don't know. And this is a challenge for anybody.
Even using DHL, which we
Even
did
use-
use
we
it.
use
We
it,
use it with Argentina, that we sent it
Yeah.
first, and we sent it to America. It did take the same time that we used parcel forces, and we thought we can do
Courier's
half
about
the
the same,
price
yeah.
of shipping, so our customers can pay less by half.
Internationally, we could ship with DHL and it will get there very, very quickly. But it still goes into a system that's nothing to do with the courier. So it's customs clearance, border force, border control, whatever it is that you want to call it.
And double the price.
And then it goes into a warehouse. And if it gets there on a Friday, it's then sitting there till a Monday before anything happens with it. So again, you know, every morning it's 15,
Shipping,
20 emails, isn't it?
Basically,
How long does
shipping
it
is
take?
it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something regarding the retail. Lots of the questions was regarding the retail, and
Yeah.
I think if you consider
Wholesale.
the corporate sale,
Corporate sales, yeah.
if you look into that, then you have to look to something like you sell directly to your own customers, even if you go to the market and sell, because you need to recover some of the profit.
Yeah, you can't.
Because
Yeah,
selling
exactly. That's a good
directly
point.
to the customers, you're saving the middleman.
Yeah.
So he's not taking your chunk. You're keeping that chunk to yourself. That's part of your profit. But when you sell it to the middleman, for him to sell it again to the customers,
Yeah.
they have to make their profit, and you have to make your profit.
Yeah, explain that. It's tough.
So
You don't want all until you're a big manufacturing plant with very, very low costs because you've got high yields. You need a mix of everything.
Of course,
You need a
otherwise
mix of
also
everything.
you don't want to be under the mercy of those.
And you've got to work hard to get all of it.
Yeah,
Right.
if one of those contracts drops, that's you in trouble. That's your
Yeah.
you're in really
I've seen
really
that.
big
I've seen that
trouble.
happen. I've seen that happen on so many occasions where somebody has kind of dumped their everyday online postal orders, which was ticking along, and then they got one massive order, dropped all the small ones, lost the big order, and then had to regain all their momentum in. So, and this is the thing with scaling up. You have to consider everything that comes in. 50% of your job is making chocolate. The other 50% you should be working equally as hard on with the sales and the marketing and trying to find new clients, right? Because that's the role.
You have to secure a marketplace that's you directly sell to your customers. Introduce yourself. They have to know the person as well as the name of your business. And then if you decide that you want to sell as well, never ever leave your...
You don't want to leave one market segment for another.
Definitely not.
Never.
Definitely not.
But this is where it gets really busy, and this is where, you know, I spoke to chocolatiers that are like, you know, 4 days a week, I'm just doing 20 hours a day. Yeah, but those 20 hours a day, they're for you. So I don't understand how you can go and work for somebody else for 8 hours and not come home and put 8 hours of work into your own thing, right? Yeah. And for everybody that's following, that's producing chocolates at home, that's the aim. And the definition of a hobby is something that you could make money on if you were good enough, okay? So if you invest in yourself and you get better at doing it, you should be able to make those jumps to get those bigger volumes, to get those bigger sales. Christmas is money-making time. Valentine's around the corner, should be able to make some pennies with that. It can all be done, but I wouldn't swap one business for another.
Valentine, find a florist and try to make a deal with them.
Find a florist, do a deal with a florist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try to find every occasion, what's related to that occasion, and try to connect to those people.
Happy days. Quick question. With a luster dust, can you brush the mold first and then shell or luster post? Both. The ones that we make, you can put directly into the mold. Don't tap the mold out. So you want to sponge them in. Don't swirl them. Dab them in with the sponge. It kind of looks a little bit messy. And then shell, and tap them all out. Or you can just make dark shells and put luster dust on afterwards. The luster dust that we have don't have any rice flake in them. And what I mean by this is there are different brands on the market, right? If I get this one, there are different brands on the market. This is copper. Happy days. Should I do this one? I'm going to use a perfectly good mould now. That one will just go in and it will stick, okay? So that one's in and it will stick. It looks a little bit messy on that side. Let's do that bit there, and it will stick. And the reason it sticks is it hasn't got any. It's called rice flake, right? But it's basically rice flour because they use that to bulk this out. If you've got a luster dust and you try and dab that in and it doesn't stick, it's very often because there's a different ingredient in there that won't allow it to stick, okay? So with that one, you can either shell like that. So we just go in. I wouldn't tap anything out because you'll go everywhere. We just go straight in and shell, tap everything out, scrape, fill them, let them retract, and you'll find that will stick to it. Or you can just make your shells and then put the luster dust on afterwards. Honestly, the fastest way of doing it is to do that and then shell. If you get the chocolates and try and put luster dust on them afterwards, it takes a lot longer. You'll be there for a lot longer.
Another trick for the ladies out there: use it as eyeshadow.
Go on then.
I'm not joking. It's really good quality.
Seren is always
it's the same
walking
quality
around
as Chanel. I promise you.
Seren's always walking around with something on, so me too as well, actually. To sell to 4 retailers with different trade prices, they give me good regular orders. I don't know that I'm making to order rather than hoping to sell them. JC saying, great chat with Albert the other day, very motivating. Have you used Calibut Gold in a ganache? It gets really fudgy. I use it in a whiskey ganache, and that keeps it fluid, but otherwise it's hard to manage.
Alcohol.
When the milk's caramelized, the casein in it breaks down, and it makes it elasticy. So if you use the gold, Calibut Gold, you need a lot more liquid to hydrate it, and the reason you need a bit more liquid, and when you say it goes fudgy, what it is it goes a little bit sticky and a bit elasticy because the casein breaks down in the milk that they use when they caramelize it. So it needs to be much more fluid. It needs much more hydration, which means it needs much more cream. And if you use more cream, then the AW drops, so you don't get the shelf life. And then you need to back it up with some sorbitol and glucose. And I wouldn't use inverted sugar with Calibut Gold; it'd be too sweet. But probably more glucose in there. It just needs, if you make a ganache with the gut, it just needs more hydration. It just, like I said, there's a little bit of science here, but the casein breaks down when they caramelize it. And what happens is it just ends up a little bit more elasticy. And when it sets, instead of it being kind of like an emulsified ganache, it ends up being a little bit chalky, a little bit grainy. It just needs more, it needs more liquid in it. That's the reality. So, but yes, it will work. So, Coca-Cola, do you have an in-depth class in the business aspect? Well, yes, we do. There is a business class, but people book it depending, and they'll kind of give us an email of stuff that they want to talk about beforehand, so we can kind of come up with a plan. Some book the business class and just want to talk about what's happened and are there any solutions to it. Others book monthly, every month they book. And they'll send me an email of the stuff that they want to cover, so that I've got a heads up of some ideas and things that they can have a look at in terms of like formulating a new business. But yes, we do. I am maxed out. I'm just going to say that I've taken the lessons off the website at the minute. I am maxed out. I am absolutely maxed out at the minute. I've got so many to schedule. It's going to be many weeks before I've scheduled all the ones that have already booked in January. So, as well as running the other bits and business, as well as having the other things coming on, as well as homeschooling the girls and dealing with it. All I've done this week is make butters non-stop, 6 in the morning till I will finish tonight, and I've still got butters to make and I've still got orders to process. So it's great, the success, it's great being really, really busy, but something I had to give. So I've had to take the classes off for a little bit. Just need to give me a couple of weeks just to catch up with some of the volumes, because I've got so many to schedule. Well, although the classes are an hour, I kind of need half an hour to get set up in beforehand and just kind of a little bit break afterwards. So I can only ever do them like every 2 hours. But I am absolutely maxed out at the minute. Stuart saying, I messed up my raisin puree. Could too much glucose make it bad? Would water bath be better? I think, with the raisin puree, the glucose really was just to, you don't want to add water to it, Stuart, because then you've got to cook the water out, right? If you added some glucose, it's not going to be a huge amount. It's enough to hydrate it so you can puree it and then pass it through a sieve, okay? Once you pass it through a sieve, you'll get all those, all that kind of fibre and, I want to say cellulose that's in there. But too much glucose won't damage it. You just need more puree to thicken it up again. So, I'm a florist now and not a chocolatier. Randy, I hope to make good combination. Yeah, Valentine's, tie up with a chocolatier. Tie up with a florist. Go to a florist. Knock on the door. Go and ask. But you got to put yourself out there, because if you don't go and knock on doors, they're not going to come find you. It just doesn't work that way at all. So the relationship you have with your wholesale customers is very important too, especially if you have to work with them on a regular basis. Absolutely. It's all relationships. All of it's relationships. That's what business is, right? I thought I was in the chocolate industry. I'm not. I'm in the people industry, because we're teaching and we're supporting, and we talk to the majority of our customers that purchase, or we have some kind of contact with them. People like to engage. Since COVID as well, people like to engage. So they like to know the person. The days of photographs, that's gone. If you're just sharing photographs, I think those days have gone. People want to see video of you making something. Al and I were talking about this the other night. Even if it's you just holding a mold spraying, right? They want to see the person that's making it. The days of hiring a photographer to take lovely pictures, that's great for your menu cards, but in terms of like sharing that information, I think those days are gone. I think they're well and truly gone. People want engagement now, and they want to see the human being. And with your wholesale customers, you need to get a box of chocolates, new ones. You need to go over, you need to go and see them and go, oh, these are yours, right? Because it is always going to be about relationships, which eventually become friendships, which eventually becomes trust, and all those nice things, right? For Valentine's Day, I've teamed up with Distillery for Valentine's night, a wine shop for chocolate and wine tasting. The first I'm practicing with friends tonight, the second I'm making the first TV appearance. Eats. Happy days, Kelly. Keep going. You just gotta, you know what? All these, I like some amazing stories happening at the minute. It's coming. You just got to keep putting yourself out there. You're the face of your business. I am the face of my business, as well as the girls, obviously. I'm not available 24 hours a day, but the perception is that I'm kind of always available. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to go and find your business. You've got to go and find your customers, and that's always going to be friendships, relationships, contacts, and engagement. Right? It's always going to be one of those things. Well done, Kelly. Happy days. Just, I remember a year ago, Kelly, like, I don't know. I won't give the secret away, but she was like, I don't know if I can make this work. Making it work now, Kelly, aren't you? Okay, hello sir, I'm a chocolatier. I'm facing a problem while closing a mould. The filling is caramel. When closing the moulds with caramel coming out, what's the trick? Underfill caramels. Underfill them, all right? Everybody repeat after me. There are no bonbon police, okay? Caramel never sits flat. Ganache does, Yandujas do, pralines do, okay? But caramels always don't, okay? So you want to underfill them. If a caramel's too thin, if you put too much chocolate on the top, what it'll do is causes it to bow, right? So you want the caramel thick enough and firm enough before you cap, okay? So it needs to skin over a little bit. If the caramel's really thin for me, what we will do is we'll give it a shot of cold in the air in the fridge for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes will be enough to just skin that over. You're looking for caramels, underfill them because they dome, and the reason they dome because they don't sit flat, right? So fill them, underfill them, chill them down a little bit, take them out, cap them with a chocolate that's around about 33 but still in temper because it'll be more fluid, or ideally you have a 4-drop chocolate. There are no bonbon police. Anybody that has my chocolates, if it's a caramel, you will find the cap is a little bit thicker. Because it's fairly liquid and it's the base that's holding everything in, I want that cap a little bit thicker. Nobody's going to knock on the door and say, can I just measure the cap? They're not. It's not going to happen. So this thing of caps being 1 mil, utter crap. I could go around the world and get everybody to say, just show me what you think 1 millimeter was, and most people wouldn't even be close. It is thinner than you can imagine, right? So yeah, that's the trick. Underfill caramels, make the cap a little bit thicker. It is liquid. It is liquid. Cool it down. Make sure it's skinned over really, really well. It should be firm enough to touch. If your caramel is a little bit thin, you can always warm it up and test it and add some more chocolate to it, which will thicken, or cocoa butter, which will thicken it. I still do this now, like 36, 37 years into industry. When I make a caramel, same recipes all the time, but there's some variation because how much I boil it off, how temperature I get it to, the volume, okay? What we will do is I will always put some onto a cold plate, and we'll, like you test for jams, right? We'll put some onto a cold plate, we'll put them in the fridge, okay? And I'll look at it after a minute just to see whether it's runny, or, because that'll give me a good indication whether when I pipe it, if it's going to sit and firm up enough so that I can cap it, okay? So the same skill of putting jam, you know, we make jam, people that make jams, they will test some on a plate, because what they don't want to do is put the jam into the jar and it doesn't set. They, you know, if it hasn't set, they'll check what's on the plate and they'll just boil it some more to a higher temperature to make sure it has set. So test and adjust. With caramels, if it's a little bit too thin, you can thicken it with chocolate, you can thicken it with butter, you can thicken it with cocoa butter, because they are a setting agent. If it's too thick, it's impossible to pipe, right? So there's a fine line, but caramels are fun. Underfill them. Underfill caramels, trust me. And there's no bonbon police, right? So, do we post to Iraq? No, we don't post to Iraq. There's a few countries you don't post to. There's a few countries we don't post. I think it's nearly 70 countries now. I think it might be over 70 countries now. We don't post to every country in the world. Sometimes there are massive issues with addresses, or you know, there is one country in particular that we don't ship to. We've sent 20 parcels, and every single time it's a problem. Every single time. So we just don't post there, because I end up losing the product and I have to refund them, and the product doesn't come back to me. It's a double hit, and we are a small business. I can't afford to take that hit. Nobody can afford to take that. Nobody can afford to send something and then refund it and not get the product back, right? So, Miss Tiff's joined us. Emily, I made capping and it all came off. How cold was the mould? Very often when caps don't adhere, it's because of how the shell edge is formed. If the shell edge is too flat, the chocolate isn't warm enough to weld to that other piece, right? You want thin shells. If you need to warm them a little bit, it is warm them, not heat them, right? And then using a chocolate that's 33, what we're trying to get is the chocolate that goes on the top to weld and stick to the shell. If it doesn't, it's normally because the mold is too cold. If you take, if you shell and fill and you put them in the fridge, and you take them straight out the fridge and you try and cap, you'll find that they won't adhere. Okay, this is why you see a lot of chefs that use a blowtorch or a hairdryer, because they're working in a facility that's very cold. You put a cold mold with warm chocolate on top, there won't be the warmth in there to weld those two chocolates together, which is the cap and the shell. The caramel problem was driving me nuts. Glad you answered it. Happy days. The shell is also part of the bonbon. If they're like 1 mil thick, you probably barely taste the chocolate. Totally. We're in the business of selling chocolate. Thin shells just allows you to the good balance of getting enough filling in there. But the caps, like the biggest piece of chocolate we kind of give customers, I don't have any, the biggest piece of chocolate that we give customers is, believe it or not, shall I lift one out, is, there's a chocolate made with, whoever was asking, that's just luster dust, okay? That's just luster dust. You see what my capping's like. How's my capping? Is my capping okay? Happy days. What was the question? The biggest piece of chocolate we give them is the cap, right? Because the outside is cocoa butter. Should be really good organic cocoa butter that's really tasty and smells amazing, right? Hint, hint. I said on Chocy Chat no selling, but then yeah. So the cap, the filling's diluted, the outside shell is diluted with colour and other bits and pieces. The biggest piece of chocolate you give them is the cap. You might as well make it a little bit thicker, right? And I've said this so many times, I'm sick of, I've never ever given anybody chocolate and they've looked at the underneath and gone, oh, good capping, James. And if they did, they're kind of not people that I should have been giving chocolate to, right? So I filled the chocolate bonbon with pistachio and granola. When I put the capping with acetate sheets, or the fur. I don't cap with acetate. I don't like it. I find it messy. Depends on the acetate. Depends how thick it is. Depends on the temperature of the chocolate. And if you do cap with acetate, you always have to scrub the hell out of the molds, right? Okay, thanks, Chef. I have one more doubt. Can I use marshmallow as a filling? Yes, you can. Can you use marshmallow as a filling? I don't. I don't, because to get good marshmallow, you can do vegan version. It's a little bit grainy, it's a little bit chewy, and it's like a rubber ball. To get the nice marshmallow, you used to use gelatine, and gelatine is an animal byproduct. So we got a lovely box of vegetarian bonbons. But if we got one with marshmallow, which is kind of 85% air, so you're going to fill half your mould up. The problem I have with marshmallow is it's not hugely tasty, and it's all air. So whilst it's a nice texture and it does cut and present and photograph really, really nice, it's very difficult to get massive flavour in it. And I like in-your-face flavour. I don't want anybody to ever guess what it is that they're eating, right? And I think the challenge with marshmallow is whilst it's a nice texture, it's also an animal product. All you have to do is give that to one vegetarian, and they will tell you for the next 1,000 years that you tried to poison them with gelatine. So you can put it in there. There is a product called Fluff on the market, which you can. It's made with albumin powder and glucose, lots of glucose. And there's some other new soda products on the market, but marshmallow, not a big fan of. I think it takes up a lot of space for not much flavour, right? I'd rather do a third of a really strong caramel and then fill it over with a ganache, in my own opinion. And the ones that I have had that have been marshmallow, the chocolate, when you eat them, so from an eatability perspective, you've still got the marshmallow that you're eating on like 10 minutes later, because it just all breaks into tiny little shards and it's quite, doesn't melt, right? It's just like bouncy balls. So not a personal fan of mine, that one. You don't sell chocolates on your website anymore, do you, James? No, I don't. There are some going on shortly because we're going to start a collection next week. I've been too busy. I can't even begin to tell you how busy I get with classes, with the butters, and the other things that are going on. Something had to give. And then Christmas, we got to January, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of classes booked. And I found myself in a position, it's like, I got more work for the next 4 weeks. If I just do every day 15, 16-hour days, I'm still not going to catch up. So we are going to put something on. Sophia's going to launch her range. They're going to go on the website. Challenge for us is that we're VAT registered now, so the price, I look 20% more expensive than everybody else, right? So we're going to do some chocolates, aren't we? You going to do some chocolates?
Yeah.
Sophia's going to do some chocolate. I've only been asking Sophia to do them for the last... Seren painted a mould. Seren came in and painted a mould the other night.
Sorry, that's my
Okay, that's gonna interfere with this one. So, but we will do.
I say also wedding fairs. Everybody forgets the wedding fairs.
Wedding fairs.
Yeah.
Not worth the effort. Wedding fairs.
No.
Wedding fairs, and I got asked this question. I've been asked this question a few times, right?
What about baby showers?
For some, wedding showers are a different thing to wedding fairs. Wedding fairs, few people have nailed it. The problem is, and if you put yourself in the perspective of the customer, you've got a bride who's very excited, dragged a fiance along. They're going round, just that wedding fair, all of them, with a champagne taste but not the budget, and they get very excited. And what happens at wedding fairs, having talked to lots of chocolatiers, is they stand there on a stall. People will talk to them for hours. They'll eat all the samples. They'll have all these ideas, pick out all their colours, and then in a month's time when they're supposed to purchase, they don't.
Then I would go.
The first thing that gets cut.
Can I ask something?
Oh.
What if, as a chocolatier, I go to hotels that's nearby with cards, and I choose saleswoman and hand them, especially the ones that's responsible.
You want to knock
the
on all
wedding.
doors. You want wedding coordinators you want to speak to.
Exactly.
But everybody's doing the same
Then
thing.
a
Florists are doing it. DJs are doing it. Yeah, DJs are doing it. Florists are doing it. Everybody. You need to be knocking on all of those doors. The problem with wedding fairs is you normally have to pay to have a stall. You'll set up a stall and give chocolates away, and you virtually get no purchases. And they, unfortunately, the brides get very excited with all these ideas, but actually when it comes to it, the first thing that gets chopped is the wedding favours, when they realise that it's like, well, I've got 200 guests and it's going to be $1,000 just for chocolates. So it's a tough one, but you know, there are options. Chocolate buffets is a big thing right now, weddings. So there's options, but like as a business person, you've got to follow up on everything. Who's local? And what can you've got to knock on doors, and you've got to go and phone and talk to people, and wedding coordinator, all of it, florists, wedding coordinators, shops, tell you places that do really well. You can get renter shelves in some of the garden centres, but you need to be doing all of it, not just a little bit of it. You need to be doing all of it, because eventually you will find your little niche, right? I did the shameless plug. So here, wedding fairs are a nightmare, cost a fortune, people out for a jolly day out, free food and drink. Oh. Don't waste your... Some people have nailed it, right? I know this from working in 5-star hotels. We set up stalls, we charge them to come in, they set up their stalls, wedding dresses, flowers, cakes, all the rest of it, and then you talk to the vendors afterwards. Did you get any orders? No. The people that go to wedding fairs... Do you know, a big chunk of the people that go to wedding fairs aren't even getting married. Know that?
Wow.
They're not even getting married. So, whilst it seems like a really good idea, it's a little bit of a lost lead. There are people that go to them, probably accentuated by the movie Wedding Crashers, but they will go because it's free snacks, free food, talk about chocolate, eat more chocolate, tell you all about their life story, tell you about their colours and their wedding plans, and you do all this research and then you don't get a purchase. It literally goes cold and they don't answer your emails. So it's a tough one. A few places and a few people have nailed it. Very often it's the hashtags that come through. I don't think it's wedding fairs that you want to be heading for. I think it's the cultural weddings that you need to pitch for. So Indian wedding market is gigantic. But getting your foot in the door is going to be incredibly difficult, and it will be price driven. So,
Arabs as well.
You know, yeah, Arabic weddings, again, it's massive, but they will have a friend that's got a friend that's got a friend that's got a friend, and you have to buy from there. So it comes with its challenges. All the people that I've ever spoken to about weddings, there's only a few that have nailed it and managed to make it really successful, but it's very, very few and far between. Most wedding venues that run a wedding fair, you have to pay for a stall. They are not people out purchasing, they are people that are out browsing. And I'd say a quarter of them aren't even getting married. They're just faking it for the day, right? That was a bit negative, wasn't it? Thank you. Can you suggest some crunchy products to make bonbons? Frillatine. Put anything crunchy as long as it's dry. I wouldn't put it into anything with a ganache. I'd never put anything crunchy in with a ganache because it will just suck up the moisture and then go soggy, right? So, sky's the limit. Mother Baker did a couple, didn't get any orders. There were 4 bakers there, wasted time and money, but gave up the experience of not doing it again. Do you know? Pairing up with wedding planners is the thing, but again, it's dog eat dog market because I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. The first thing that gets cut, the first thing that gets lobbed off the bill when the bride's wedding budget's blown out proportion will be the favours. I guarantee it's the chocolates. It's every single time. And the amount of chocolatiers that I've spoken to who have said, oh, I never got the order, or I never got or they never ever came back to me. And you have to be careful this time again. The majority of engagements happen on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or New Year's Day. And it's a perfect run up. 6 weeks later, all the wedding fairs will be running round about Valentine's. They'll get a little bit giddy and a little bit excited. Just tread carefully. I think you just need to put yourself in the perspective of that customer who's purchasing, all right? So, I have 5 kilos of the car cracking. Any ideas on how to use it? That's a lot. I don't know how much you sell it. Divvy it up into bags and see if anybody wants it on Chocy Chat, right? Durate Bakes. If ping me a message, and I'm quite happy to. For people in the UK, might buy kind of 100 grams or something off you. So ping me a message, and I'm sure we can get it. You can get it into bags, and people can send me a message, and we'll have a chat about that one. So certainly want to get it used up before it goes out of date or goes soft, right? So. Not with ganache, with praline is crunchy. You can put you can't put anything crunchy really into ganache, right? Unless it's been coated in cocoa butter. There are some brands that sell some of this stuff. Sosa do some, various brands. They don't stay as crunchy for as long as you imagine. I mean, they will take crispy bits and then coat it in cocoa butter, but it doesn't stay crispy for long. Honestly, I never try and pair anything up crispy with ganache. I will always do it with the praline and gandouja. Simple as that. Poppy candy, frillatine, biscuit crumbs, any of the kind of Sosa particles, crispy bits, inclusions, right? So, gosh. I got one quote to a friend who's always said, know your worth, but then didn't want to pay me my rate for sugar flour. She's getting a 3-tier cake for £200. How are they making no money? They were making money with that. That's all. So, could you please advise how to use rose flavoured ganache? It seems too intense. Should I pair it with white or dark? If you want to tone down the flavour of rose, I'd use milk chocolate, right? If you put it in with white chocolate, it's just going to be too florally and too sweet. And the sweeter it is, the more pronounced the rose will be. But what's making it? Is it the rose water? Just don't put as much rose water in. And if you're using the drops, rose drops, go steady, right? Because it can end up smelling like hand soap, right? So. Right, I'm going to get away. Nice chat tonight, a few conversations. I'm going to go and eat a few handfuls of the Valrhona. I quite like that. It's not my new snacking chocolate, because that's going to be the fleur de camp. We're still here. Lessons are on hold for a little bit, unfortunately. No, not unfortunately. I just need to catch up, all right? I'll have a chat with Dallas, and we'll see if we can sort that one out in the next few weeks. I've got a chat coming up shortly with Tina at Cadena Chocolate, so I'm going to go on her channel and have a chat. What else have we got going on? Lots going on at the minute. Busy boy. Have a good week. I shouldn't have eaten that piece, should I? I don't know what I was going to say. Be nice to people. Work hard. Plan what it is that you'd like to do. If you can envisage you doing it, you should be able to try and make it happen, all right? I think there is a lot of power in self-belief, okay? Have a lovely week. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you enjoyed the chat with Albert. I will do some more of those because I think it'd be nice to perspectives. But have an amazing week. We're fully topped up with the cocoa butters, making our way through the classes. We'll be back to normal shortly, okay? Have a good one. Bye-bye.